This podcast is brought to you by RevUp Academy. Just a reminder that doors to RevUp Academy are currently open, but they are closing on February 12th, which means if you are listening to this episode on the day it goes live, you have just 24 hours left to enroll. RevUp Academy is my 6-week coaching program for ambitious customer success pros who want to become more strategic, more confident, and more revenue-minded in the way that they do work every single day. As one of our RevUp alumni perfectly puts it, RevUp Academy finally stopped her feeling like a reactive CSM and started showing up as a strategic partner. And within months of finishing the program, she was able to lead value-led conversations with confidence and getting pulled into renewal and expansion discussions way before she actually expected. So if you've been stuck repeating the same thing year after year in your customer success career, this is your moment to change that. Go ahead and head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/revup to enroll before doors close tonight. Again, head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/revup to enroll today. All right, let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Anika Zubair, and welcome to the Customer Success Pro podcast, your go-to space for real talk, expert advice, and actionable insights in the world of customer success. I'm a CS executive leader, award-winning strategist, CS coach, and customer success fanatic. I help CSMs and CS leaders build the skills and the confidence to become revenue-driving pros and scale world-class CS teams. So whether you're brand new to CS or a seasoned leader, this podcast is here to support your growth. Because customer success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And I'm here to be your guide and navigate every step of your journey. So join me every Wednesday where you'll get fresh CS tips, tricks, and strategies you can actually use. Some weeks I'll share my own insights and best practices from working in CS over the last 13 years. And once a month, I'll bring on expert guests to dive into the most relevant and pressing topics in customer success today. So if you're ready to level up, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in, and let's make your CS journey a little bit easier together. Hey, CS friends, welcome back to the Customer Success Pro podcast. Today, I am joined by Alon Ahronberg, the VP of Customer Success at Atera. Alon is a seasoned customer success leader with a strong technical background, and he has built and scaled post-sales teams across multiple software industries. He brings a really rare blend of strategic CS leadership and hands-on operational thinking, everything from customer relationships and business process designs to product partnerships and project management, and of course, business intelligence as well. And in this episode, we are getting into what it really takes to rebuild a customer success organization as a company evolves, including how CS changes when you move from a product-led motion into a sales-led motion, and how to redefine roles within account management and how to reinforce value for longtime customers so adoption actually leads to renewals. Let's chat to Alon on how he's done this all. So, Alon, welcome to the show. Before we get into today's topic, could you please tell my listeners just a little bit more about yourself, how you kind of started at Atera, and what it is your role is there?
Amazing. So maybe I'll jump a little bit to my background. I'm a tech savvy and a very customer-oriented person. I've been in the tech scene for almost 70 years now. Atera would be my 5th place that I have scaled and built customer success teams. In Atera, been in Atera over a year now. Actually, we're transforming the CS organization from a PLG to SLG methodology. I'm the VP Customer Success, and I'm overseeing the customer success teams, professional services, which includes the onboarding, solution engineers, and engineers as well.
Oh, wow. Very broad team. And everyone that's listening, PLG, I think we've heard it many times, product-led growth, but also SLG is now sales-led growth, which a lot of SaaS companies do find themselves in more of a sales-oriented space. But you came, like you said, from a PLG model, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But set the scene a little bit more about the team, because it sounds very, very vast. It sounds like you have everything post-sales under you, but it sounds like it was also very different when you first joined Atera, being PLG, to what it is now. So kind of what happened? What's changed since you've joined the team?
It's a great question. So for me, it also was the first time that I'm coming to an organization that I need to transform. So Atera already had a very big, in tens of thousands of customers in it, being served by customer success, and already had a mature sales organization, which the majority of the portion of customers were PLG. But as I was joining Atera, it was already being transformed, or more, almost 40% of the revenue is coming from the sales organization. And that means bigger deals, more high touch, bigger organization. And the CS organization was lagging behind. Still operates like a scale organization. CSMs were managing 1,000 accounts per CSMs, then 500. That's how it was still operating, and we needed to change that. There's different kind of accounts now coming in. They expect different kind of service, and that was the challenge.
Quick pause, because I want to talk to you for a second. Have you ever noticed how every new year it starts the exact same, with the same goals, the same intention, and somehow the same habits? You want more confidence, you want to be seen as strategic, and you want that clear path to promotion and revenue leadership in customer success. But nothing really changes because you're missing the right guidance and the right support at the right time. Now imagine stepping into 2026 as a completely different version of yourself. The revenue-minded CS pro that leadership trusts. The strategic partner who knows how to run value-driven conversations, influence renewals, and clearly ties customer outcomes to commercial impact. That version of you is not unrealistic. It just needs the right room, the right frameworks, and the right coaching. And that is exactly why I built RevUp Academy. RevUp Academy is my 6-week high-touch coaching program for a small group of customer success professionals who are serious about leveling up fast. We only open doors a few times a year because the experience is intentionally intimate and deeply hands-on. And the doors are open for the next 24 hours. This is your moment. And if you're listening outside of the enrollment window, don't worry, we have a wait list. Just head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/rev-up. You need to join in the next 24 hours or join our VIP waitlist. Everyone on the waitlist gets early access and special pricing when doors open. If you're serious about becoming a more confident, more revenue-focused customer success leader in 2026, this is where your transformation starts. Just head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/rev-up. I can't wait to see you inside of the academy. Now let's get back into the episode. I also love that you said you came from a technical background and also 17 years in tech, which is quite a while. It's a great career. But what inspired you into customer success? I love this question because no one studied customer success. At least all the people I talked to on this show, I didn't study it. What inspired you to work in tech or in customer success?
Yeah. So when I started, there was no customer success. So you kind of evolved into that direction. There was always services and consultancy roles that I did before. I think for me, it comes from a place that you can actually create impact.
Yep.
And you can feel this impact in a high dose. My background was in BI and project management and implementing ERP systems, which, first of all, I learned technology and how system works. And I love technology. I always love to understand what is it that I'm doing. I think also for CSMs, having a technical background it allows you to bring more value. Customer success eventually is also about bringing value to customers. And I also did the product management roles, which actually at some point was also a goal for me to do. But at the end of the day, I feel the CSM role is one of the most impactful. You can impact your customers on a daily basis, but not only if you do your job right, you can impact the organization. You can impact how sales sell. You can impact the product roadmap. And marketing as well. So if you do this right, if you bring the right insights, it could be one of the most interesting positions that exists.
I love that. I also love that you framed that we're kind of like adrenaline junkies. We're chasing like this impact and this value that we drive, and it's so true. While you were saying all of that, I was just thinking, yeah, it sounds like we're just adrenaline junkies that want to make sure our customers get as much impact and value from working with us, which is a new way of looking at customer success. So thanks for sharing that.
It's adrenaline, and it's also being an addict to changes and tension, and every single day there's a new surprise. It's not easy to plan your week. You have to be ready for everything and have this being full with this can-do approach and have this drive to succeed.
You know, it's so funny. I come from a sales background, and a lot of people don't want to work in sales because it's high risk, but also high reward. But I would almost challenge, based on what you just shared about adrenaline and no one week is the same and everything is changing all the time. I would say CS is a much riskier bet than sales in some ways because, like you said, there's no way to really predict what your customers are going to say or do this week. So I've never seen it that way, but I love how this conversation is shaping up. I do think there is more risk in being in CS these days.
Well, I don't know. It's risk, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
Not sales, it's easy. It has its own challenges.
For sure. Just like product as well. Like you said, you had a technical product background. Everything has its own challenges. But I guess I never framed CS in that way. So I'm already loving that there's a reframe on how we do things. But you came, like you said, technical background, thinking of doing things in product, but you've ended up in customer success, which is great. You've had a great career, lots of great logos that you've worked at, and you're currently VP of CS, which is a high title and place to be in your career. I always love knowing from my guests kind of what is next in your either CS career ambition or just career ambition in general.
It's a good question. I think for now, I'm really in a place that I want to be, transforming an organization with a relatively big team. It's super interesting. I would say my biggest goal right now is actually seeing how am I transforming the organization in the next 2-3 years, and trying not to make it as cliche as possible, but how really AI is going to change our organization in the future.
I think AI is going to change everything. I think like it's just there's no way to say it or deal with it. Like I think it just if you think back to when I was just thinking when we used to have bank tellers or you had to go into a bank to actually get money, right? And now I don't know the last time I walked into a bank, right? And like it's not like there's less people working in banks. It's just bank tellers aren't there, right? If you want to get cash, there's another way to get cash. And even now with autonomous driving, for example, like Waymo, if it's in your city or wherever you are, like it's just come to London. I'm just like, wow, who would have thought a few years ago we would have cars driving or Ubers driving us around without any driver? Like that's crazy. And like the world is changing so fast. And I totally agree. I think AI is going to reshape everything we do in tech.
And I think as a leader of in an industry, or for any leader now, besides doing our day-to-day job of shaping your organization and implementing changes and building strategy, for me, this is the first time we are doing something that is completely different and actually nobody did before.
Yeah.
Barely have colleagues to consult with. Everybody's pretty much in the same status, trying to figure out what to do next. How is it going to look like in the next 2 years? And it's super interesting. Like in
Yeah,
vision.
there is no playbook. There's no AI playbook. We're all figuring it out together. Amazing. Listen, uh, everything that you've built so far sounds really exciting. I know when we last talked, Atera was going through lots of changes. You say you're still going through lots of changes, but when you first came in, I know you mentioned that you said that CS felt more like a call center or like a service organization because of that PLG motion that you had. What were kind of like your first signals or changes that you made in order to make sure you started to move more away from that product-led organization into more of a sales-led organization?
A great question. So immediately what needed to be done is divide your book of business differently. You can't continue to do the same things with a higher scale. You have to decide, you have to draw the line. Where would be your no-touch accounts and what's the book of business your CSMs would manage?
Yep.
And based on that, you have to start applying the right processes in order to make them successful. How do you do QBRs? And we started to design the journey, how many touch points we want to do. And if I need to summarize in a sentence, the organization was reactive.
Yeah.
That's how we used to work. And I tried to flip it as quick as possible. And how do we become more proactive? How do we build a relationship from day one, since the kickoff call? When should we meet with the customer? How do we talk about value? How do we promote adoption?
Yeah.
That's what we started doing almost immediately and baking that into our customer journey.
Mm-hmm.
To start measuring things and creating dashboards and KPIs and trying to see how we actually are able to implement those processes.
Yeah, I love that. It comes back to the customer journey. I think some of us really forget about it, if I'm honest, whether you're at an organization that's been around for a long time or a small startup that you've just started to build CS at, we almost forget that the basics of everything that we build starts on a customer journey. It's like, okay, what are we expecting a customer to do within the first 90, 180, 365 days of using our product and service? And how to help them get to those milestones that we've mapped out in said journey. But it can be overwhelming. A customer journey gets very big, very messy. And I'm guessing for an organization like yourselves, where you had tens of thousands of customers and so many different ways of working, like you said, and almost a reactive way to working, what were the building blocks or the basics that you started off? Was it business reviews? Was it like health scoring? What did you prioritize when you were rebuilding that customer journey without it becoming, chaos and overwhelming?
I love this question. You can't flip a switch and then expect a group of almost 20 CSMs to start doing CS journeys. It has to one step at a time.
Yeah.
The first thing we did is actually mapping the accounts, define a health score. Even it is based on the CSM sentiment, but we basically build a scale of what's considered a healthy or positive customer and what's considered a customer at risk. And once we made the book of business, we divided basically the accounts. The first thing we did is mapping the accounts. Who is at risk, who's in positive, who is neutral. So we'll start understanding our book of business. One of the additional tasks that we did is actually shaping the QBR. We had a few formats, one for our bigger accounts and one for the medium touch accounts, but we had to give our CSM some tools. It's different than a smaller startup. Then you're starting gradually to have accounts. But here we needed to transform an existing team and give them a tool, how to do a proper QBR. And based on those QBRs, it also helped us to ask the right questions and get the right data from customers, which we also use for the health scoring. In parallel, it's also a lot of dashboard building and KPI. So as management, we would also have the right metrics.
Yeah.
We introduced a forecasting mechanism as well to understand where we would land in the next quarters. We would know where our risks are and being able to operate more strategically in order to reach our targets and not just putting out fires or pick up the phone when we think when a customer complains and we actively act upon that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, totally. I think that it's really interesting that you started with breaking out the book of business and like really looking at it and deciding, okay, how do we now decide to approach this? Because QBRs are going to be totally different. Like, how do you prioritize your time now that you've decided to move to, again, rather than a reactive, but a proactive method? So when you started to do all of that segmentation and decided to look at your 20 odd CSMs within your business, how did you start to decide? Because they don't all look after those tens of thousands of customers. There's no way, unless your poor CSMs are working 24/7, but I don't think that's the case. But how did you approach like which customers actually got a named CSM? Like, was it the bigger logo customers that got it? Was it the more complex product integration customers? Like, how did you decide which segment got CS focus and which didn't?
It was originally based on the ARR, the account size,
Yep.
with some exceptions as well. It's actually today we're resegmenting it better, looking at the organizational size as well. But yeah, back in the days when we just started, we had to draw the line. Somehow ARR was the easiest way to do that. And of
Yeah.
course, if there were some exceptions, we changed that. But ARR pretty much gave us a good
Starting point.
starting point to do it.
Yeah. And what about the customers? Like, obviously, from a PLG motion, I'm guessing they had like support or emails, or they had some sort of contact regularly.
Yeah.
But as you moved up, you had to change how often you're speaking to a customer and which customers you're speaking to. Did it come off as a bad thing to your customers? Because
No,
some of
it's
them.
a good thing because for most
Okay.
customers, we're used to more like a support kind of sit,
Okay.
and now they actually got a better service mode.
Okay, good. Great.
So
Because I know sometimes it's really hard, especially when you move up market and you have bigger logos that you focus on. Some of your older or grandfathered accounts that have been with you for years that expect that high level of engagement and suddenly they don't get it. But it sounds like they got more rather than less when you guys moved into more of a sales-led organization.
I mean, it's actually a good selling point for a sales rep. So if you from a certain amount or a package deal, you will also get a CSM.
Hmm.
It's a driver also for bigger deals that our AEs are using.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I know you talked about a number of different teams that report into you, like you said, from professional services to customer success. As organizations grow and reprioritize and restructure, there's always this like defining line between what is customer success doing, what is professional services doing, and I think you also have account management team as well under you. So like, what is each one of your team's responsibilities in this sales-led organization that you've been building out?
It's always a tricky question to define the clear borders. The account managers, by the way, are part of the sales organizations, which we all under the same umbrella. So we work very closely with them.
Okay.
I wouldn't say we are at the ideal point currently. It's something that I still I want to do some tweaks in it. But I would say, and the answer to this question is not always the same for every organization. It very much depends on the product complexity and the time you need to onboard a customer, etc., and the type of audience that you're working with as well. Professional services team, if we're looking at on the onboarding part, which is crucial. So the PS team are doing the onboarding, and we have even a few roles there. We have a more standout onboarding, and for complex accounts that requires integrations and migrations or a more thorough architecture design, we have solution engineers who are basically leading the onboarding part. The CSMs are responsible for the post onboarding. So
Okay.
once customer gets live with a certain use cases that we define, CSMs are in charge of maintaining the champion relationship, the adoption phase. We have KPIs also to increase adoption and making sure that customers are continuing to utilize the product better, increase adoption. Basically look on the product in a few areas and making sure that the customers are using the valuable features. Of course, they need to showcase value during QBRs, etc. Everything you know about customer success managers.
Yeah. I love that you said that they're responsible for adoption, because a lot of CSMs have to look after renewals and upsells as well. But it sounds like the CSM passes up to the account management team, which is cool. I know a lot of organizations do that as well. Define adoption. Like, what does that mean in your world? Like, how are you guys building a customer success organization that is more proactive, that's really building adoption scores from your customers that actually leads to that renewal and upsell? Like, what are they trying to do when it comes to adoption, as you said it?
Yeah, so it's by the way, it's a never-ending task, and I would say we're still 60% there. I hope with AI would actually find those conclusions and insights better and faster. But what we did, we basically mapped our product is a platform, and we have a few pillars of products within our whole solution portfolio. And each pillar has its more sticky features, the features that are being used and brings the most value. And we basically investigated which features brings more value. They're more tied to renewals and customers that are with us for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
We look on usage volume per account, per license utilization, and we're able to build this picture of what is considered healthy usage in terms of a value and amount of users using the platform, but also the feature set that they're using. So you might have specific users that are not using the license enough, or certain areas in the product that are not being used. And we're trying to build this success plan for each account.
Yeah.
These are the areas that you can use. And it also by the way, it needs to be based also on conversation. Not all areas are relevant for each customer. So we also try to look on that. So that's why we also divided to product areas and try to make it relevant for each account. It's not easy, and it's not perfect.
But I don't think there's any easy way to map out adoption or how it's being adopted as well. Every product is so different, and also just the maturity of your customer. I'm sure what they're adopting in the first few months versus years after being a customer looks wildly different.
Yeah. And then it's also a question of how do you promote new features that came in and create additional use cases for these existing accounts.
Yeah.
We're actually now trying to create a model that does it almost automatically by looking at all of our customers, analyzes gong calls as well. It tries to build this, what does the customer expect to achieve with our product, based on similar customers within this industry. And that's the kind of blueprint. And then the model looks at the usage and try to see if there's a good match to what the existing status is. And based on that, supposed to build us like a recommendation for each CSMs of what thing we basically offer to that customer.
That's so cool. So basically, AI/Gong or your internal tools are building like almost a value report for your customers by the sounds of it. Are you using that in calls, in business reviews? Like, is it kind of like showing the customer, this is what you're using well, this is what you're not using, this is kind of the next steps? Is that basically what it's ultimately up to?
It's Salesforce. It's actually still in the experimentation. So it's a combination of a model and also what we do manually from dashboards.
Okay.
Ideally, eventually, it will be almost automatically done. The end goal for me, it's being able to push recommendation for end users. So once we verify the model works, I'd like it to also have a very personalized recommendation to our end users, which we never have time to talk to. But that's probably going to take a little bit longer than that.
Sure, but that's still really cool. Like, it's really awesome that you're automating and helping your CS team show value, because I feel like the name of the game in 2025 and will continue to be in 2026 is like, make sure your customers continue to see value in your product. And it's no longer about, yes, it is about using the product. Of course, we all want our customers using it, and adoption is very important. But sometimes even customers that are fully adopted don't necessarily see the value of our product and service, which is, I think, the biggest or the hardest hurdle a CSM has to overcome these days. And that value matrix is like really cool that you guys are building that out and kind of figuring out what matters to a customer, but how to actually showcase what are nice to have features versus must have features. How else are you guys kind of using that? Is that in a business review? Is it in calls? How are you making sure you continue to show value and through adoption?
So usually it would be through a QBR.
Okay.
Um, uh, in the future, we also want to bake more of these elements into the product itself, so it would be visible in the product.
Mhm.
Also generate executive reports. That's also something that we plan, so they can get it on like a monthly basis and see the progress, what does the platform did for them in the past month and so on. So it's always visible and out there.
Awesome. Cool. I want to pivot for a second because I want to talk about another topic, which is the topic of re-onboarding. As you said, you inherited tens of thousands of customers. You had a team that was quite reactive, and you built out this cool new way of working, which is awesome. You're still building it by the sounds of it, but you started to really move into a proactive way of working. And I'm sure in that whole transition phase, as you've gone in and done all this change management, there's probably been a lot of customers that have either decided to leave or were saying, okay, it's no longer for us, or maybe they had a change in champion or a change in stakeholder, and you've had to like almost re-onboard these customers, as you said it before. Like, let's first start of like, what does re-onboarding even mean? And why is it that you guys are doing it with some of your customers?
So it was actually an initiative we did even before customer complained.
Okay.
Us, one of the things we've realized, which wasn't so hard, but our onboarding process was not defined. It
Okay.
was pretty a basic time frame we gave to our customers with a few sessions they do with a product expert to help them with what they need and a product overview. So one of the first things we did also is transform the onboarding process, have it well defined. We basically build a few packages or onboarding types depending on the customer size and obviously the complexity that he has depending on the product pillars that they purchased or planning to use. Based on that plan, each package has its goals and a checklist and what is it that we're trying to achieve with a very clear success criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that came out of this is, wait, but we now have so many enterprise big accounts that didn't pass this onboarding. So this is actually a potential risk that might come up in the next year or the next month. So we actually opened this project to identify this entire population of strategic accounts that haven't passed through the proper onboarding.
Yep.
We also looked on their usage and relationship, and we basically offered them, like, hey, let's do a few sessions. We can help you out with a few extra items. Of course, we position it properly, but and basically we were very proactive with this approach and hoping to mitigate a possible risk in the future.
Yeah, I love that. I love that this came out of part of like, okay, we're redoing how we build our customer journey, and you identify like there is a large group of customers that probably didn't do onboarding correctly and have been a customer for a while, and they're at risk now because they didn't do onboarding the way that we would want to do onboarding in 2025, for example. But you identified risk and then you started to like roll this out. But I'm guessing there was a large number by the sounds of it. There was quite a few customers that didn't go through onboarding correctly and needed to be re-onboarded. How did you actually operationalize that? Like, I'm sure your team was thinking like, Alon, come on, we're busy already. Like, what do you want us to re-onboard customers? Like, how did you make sure your team was helping without it feeling overwhelming?
Had to grow the team. So we've actually brought up additional people from other departments, from pre-sales and from our tier 2 engineers. We actually called it Delta Force. So
Delta Force, I love that.
actually, I didn't invent the name, but we adopted it. But it was a team effort. So we created a list and we kind of ran through this initiative quickly. So
Yeah, I love that. But I also love that you called on other team members. I think what's really great is that CS works with so many teams, but I think the problem we have is we're willing to always be helpful to like the product team or the sales team or the marketing team, but we almost get scared to call on all those teams to actually help when it comes to a customer need. And at the end of the day, the whole company is serving the customer. So I love that you brought in like the Delta Force and you guys all made this new little task force to really help all the customers that were at risk.
and I'm lucky that I work in an organization that is very collaborative and tied to the cause. We're lucky that we're still not a huge enterprise when these type of initiatives might be a bit harder to do.
Yep.
We're lucky in that.
Yeah, I think it's luck, but I also think it's a bit of leadership and really bringing in the right people in the right room. So kudos to you and your team for making that happen. But cool. So we've identified that there's these customers at risk. You've gone through all this change, this reorganization of how you work with customers to be more proactive in a sales-led motion. But then when you started re-onboarding, what does that even mean? Like, who was included? Was it stakeholder mapping? Did you have to get in touch with executives? Did you do like a value report that we talked about? Was it like building a new success plan? Like, what was included in a re-onboarding to make sure you got them back on the right track?
Well, it was actually with most of the population of this project, we had a relationship through the CSM and the account. With some, we had to create a better relationship because it was also part of the resegmentation that we did. But we analyzed for each account what they missed, how their usage looks like. And the CSMs were approaching the accounts with actually what's in it for them offer. Hey, I noticed actually you're not fully utilizing these areas of the product. Let's talk, or I would be happy to assign you a professional services engineer to help you with this and this and that. And throughout this process, we basically did a little bit of free training if needed and helped them implement the areas that we felt are underutilized in each account.
Yeah. Cool. And as you continued to move more into enterprise and sales led and the whole growth trajectory you guys were on, I know you said and I think this comes from your background being technical, but you mentioned that because of the complexity of your product, having technical CS people were really, really important. So like as you moved up market and as you had customers that were up market, how did you start to build out the team? Because it sounded like, yes, you had people come in and do the Delta Force and help you with certain things, but it sounds like you don't just have customer success managers. You have professional services, you have these other teams. Like, why was it so important for you to kind of diversify your team as you moved into this enterprise sales motion?
We have to strengthen the team's knowledge in the product better.
Yeah.
So it was different when back then CSMs couldn't really get into depth into the product. It was more about helping with a specific issue or a question customer was asking.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's actually making them much more strategic and understand more what is it that the customers are trying to do, the use cases that they're trying to solve, and also being able to consult them better. In order to have a meaningful QBR with an IT director or a VP of the IT department, you have to know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
it's not just showing reports. You need to try to understand, bring some examples from the industry.
Yeah. Be truly consultative. That's really what the role is these days.
It was always like that.
Yeah. But I think the way we've changed and the way technology has changed, it's now I have AI. AI can give me an analysis or a report.
Yeah.
Give me the insights that you know, which only comes from a human being consultative.
Exactly. And I also think this is going to become much more critical for CSMs. So
Yeah.
being able to really consult and have a deeper knowledge in the industry, that's part of the things that we need to focus on.
Yeah.
In addition, we had to strengthen the professional services team with knowledgeable experts that can look on the whole implementation as a whole thing and design the architecture and the solution, and not just tier 2 oriented support per case.
Okay.
So we work on those two fronts in parallel.
Got it. Love that. And as you continue to move from PLG to SLG, I think there's a lot of people listening who are like, yeah, it makes sense. We're doing the same thing. We're moving from mid or lower tier customers to more enterprise customers. And you've done it a few times at least. You've worked at a number of companies. Like, is there like a common mistake that you see leaders make when they move from going down to upmarket or moving into enterprise? Or maybe if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything differently now that you know what you know?
In common mistakes, I think it's trying to do the same, but with just more people. So if you're scaling and you need to scale fast, okay, let's just hire a lot more CSMs, but still relatively try to do what we can. It took me also some time to change it internally. Stop sending the marketing campaigns for managed accounts and making sure that we in touch with them and not just use the same communication flow that we do with non-managed accounts. So not just a CS change, it's an organizational change of thinking of managed account versus non-managed accounts.
Yeah.
If I could do things differently, I didn't have time to do everything that I wanted. So we're also bound to operational bandwidth and our analytics team bandwidth. So I would there's a few changes that we're now doing in the professional services team and starting to build our development workforce to build more integration with accounts, with some of our accounts. And that's something I would probably start a little bit earlier.
Okay.
And offer more services and a catalog to our customers. But now we're starting to do that. So we'll catch the gap.
Yeah, I love it. I think there's so many things everyone can do. Like you said, there's only so many hours in the day where you're able to actually execute. And of course, if we had endless resources and endless operational bandwidth, we could be doing everything. But I think it's really hard to really define like, hey, if we're going to move up market, if we're going to move into enterprise and be truly a sales organization, like there's a lot of changes that need to happen in order for you to start servicing customers that fall in that true enterprise bucket. And I think a lot of people listening to this podcast are probably nodding along saying, yeah, that sounds exactly like my business. We're moving up market, or I've been told that we're going to start selling to more enterprise or more high value accounts. Is there any like lessons learned that you maybe want to share with my listeners of your experience of moving from product led to sales led?
I would also invest in project management earlier if I could think about something else. The amount of balls juggling in the air with feature requests and risk for R&D to develop and integrations that needs to be built, where we're building is this arm as well. But I would start there early as well. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. At my last company, a fintech, we actually did have a project manager. That's all it's, but all he did was manage our internal like deployments, project plans, customers going live, integrations, like everything you said. And I never had one before in any of the companies I worked at before. I was like, I couldn't believe we need a project manager just for our internal like teams. But wow, I'm still blown away by what everything David helped us do. But like, it's probably a skill that we think, oh, we'll build a Trello board or something. We'll build it out. But like, who's managing all of that and all the people that need to make all of these changes happen? So I'm glad you called it out. It is a lost art form, project management, but it's super important.
Shift in mindset. As a small startup, you just jump on every grenade being thrown and you fix that. But at certain point, you lose things along the way.
100%. Like you just said, it's when you're in that mindset of doing everything, it's hard to zoom out and really decide what takes priority and what we need to do sequentially to actually hit the goals that we have. And sometimes it's a person that needs to really keep you all in check and make sure that the project is going to plan. So love that. Amazing. Well, listen, Alon, we could talk forever. I'm sure we could. We could keep going and going, but I want to wrap us up with our quick fire questions round where I challenge each one of my guests to answer the next few questions in a sentence or less. Are you ready for the challenge?
Let's do it.
Awesome. My first question is, if you could predict the future, what do you think customer success will focus on next year?
I think we kind of talk about it, but it's definitely being more strategic. And how do we, what is the value that we bring as CSMs? I know you said a sentence, but
It's okay. Everyone struggles.
and products would probably become better,
Yeah.
and it would be easier to fix and enhance. And even with documentation is dead, but within product AI tools that would help our customers to get the answers that they need. So I see this role evolves to what it should have been, always what it should have been.
Yeah.
More about consultancy and understanding the industry of your specific customers and helping them really maximize the value. So, and that would also, it's not easy for CSMs. It's for a lot of CSM, it's about putting out fires and then, scratching the surface. They would have to go deeper.
Yeah. But I think AI and the world that we're going to evolve into will allow them that time and space to truly be strategic. I do not think it'll replace. Yes, of course, it'll replace some of the work that we do, but I'm happy for it to replace some of the admin work that we do every single day and documentation, like you said.
How much time is wasted on friction and just getting the data and understanding the data?
Yeah,
AI
exactly.
really help to clean this noise for CSMs and help them do what they always meant to do.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing. Okay, not a sentence, but we'll move on. Next question is, which app or software do you use every day or week? And it can be on your phone or your laptop.
Not just AI, right? Like every
No, you can say AI, but like any tool or any app.
boring one. I live in Slack, unfortunately.
Okay.
Slack and Google Slides. Emails a little bit less, but Slack is most of your day.
Yep.
That we're doing for management. A lot of Gemini and ChatGPT for your day-to-day activities and plans that we're doing. But that would be it.
Yeah. I think Slack should sponsor this show. I'm pretty sure almost every single one of my guests have said Slack at some point. So it's a very common tool. But anyways, next question is, if you could change one thing about customer success, what would it be?
In my organization or a generic one?
You could take it either way.
I would try to take out a lot of the friction work that we're doing, and it's not an easy task. But unfortunately, especially in startups, CSMs are the one that are filling the gap that there is in the product and a lot of processes in the organization. So and it's traditionally the CSM has to do it manually in a lot of cases to being able to push forward their accounts, their customers' needs. So, and this is where I really hope AI would help as well, but it's not only, it's the right operations and the right planning that you have to put in place. But for me, it's really making CSM strategic. That's my always a goal.
Yeah. I think a lot of teams and a lot of companies are feeling this pinch point, so I don't think you're alone. But speaking of AI, since you mentioned it, what's one cool new thing that you're doing with AI?
So I actually started doing this in the last few months. I used to just tell AI what I need. Now, when I'm preparing for meetings with my management team and the CEO or the executive team that we have, I use AI also to build more data-oriented case. So if I used to present a plan on our book of business and forecast for the next year, now I use AI also to back it up with data and benchmarks to really build a stronger case of the
I love
initiative
that.
to build. And it's something that we always need to do at leaders, but it's
Yeah, I think so. I think we always need to be data-driven leaders, but sometimes we miss it, like not on purpose, but we miss how important it is to add that additional data layer. So it's great that AI is helping you do that.
and it's easier to do with your own company data, but doing research outside takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does.
And AI really shortens the. You need to check it, of course, but
Yeah.
really helps you with benchmarking and kind of proving the point better.
I love that. Amazing. Last question from me is, who should be my next podcast guest?
Wow, it's a good question. I have a colleague. Her name is Sharon Amitai. She's a real AI savvy CS persona.
Okay.
I would talk to her. She's really investigating this whole AI front, try to invest cool tools.
Yeah.
You can do in your day to day. I think she's worth a chat.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening, I'd love to have a chat. But thank you so much, Alon, for your input, your energy, your transparency on everything that you've been building out. If my listeners want to ask you more questions or follow up or connect, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Urge that LinkedIn.
Yeah. I will make sure Alon's LinkedIn is down in the show notes. But thank you again, Alon, for being on the show. I loved it.
Thank you so much, Anika. I'm a great fan, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Customer Success Pro podcast. I hope you picked up something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took just 10 seconds to leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more CS pros like yourself discover the show. And creating new episodes takes a lot of work, so leaving a nice review keeps me motivated to keep creating. And don't forget to hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcast episodes. I drop a new episode every Wednesday packed with practical tips. And if you've got a topic you'd love for me to cover or want to be a guest on my show, send me a message. All the details are in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, if this episode helped you, share it with a fellow CSM or CS leader. Remember, sharing is caring. Cheers to your CS journey, and I'll catch you next week for our next episode.